You know, for as long as we've been human, we've wrestled with the greatest unknown of all. But what if I told you that for millennia, our ancestors weren't just asking the question, they were actually drawing maps to the answer? Today, let's dive into these ancient maps of the afterlife.
I mean, it's the ultimate question, isn't it? It's something that has fascinated philosophers, mystics, and, let's be honest, every single one of us at some point. Is it just the end? A final sleep? Or is it the beginning of some grand, incredible journey?
Well, those ancient texts that we often just write off as myths, they might actually be something far more practical. Think of them less as stories and more as guidebooks, manuals for the soul, really, meticulously crafted to help us navigate the territory that lies just beyond the veil of our physical world.
Okay, so where do we even begin with something this massive? Let's start by looking at our sources. We're about to explore a whole collection of ancient wisdom that, and this is the wild part, despite spanning totally different cultures and eras, all seem to point in a remarkably similar direction.
You've got the detailed trials in the Egyptian underworld from the Book of the Dead, the different states of consciousness in the Tibetan Bardo Thodol. A common thread just starts to emerge. Whether you're looking at Hermetic alchemy, Platonic philosophy, or even the mystical traditions in the Zohar or Dante's Inferno, the core message is kind of the same. Death isn't an end, it's a profound transformation.
So what do these ancient maps tell us happens in those very first moments? Let's go right to the beginning of the journey, the separation of our consciousness from the physical body. The very first step is detachment. The ancient Egyptians had a name for this. They called it the release of the Ka, which is basically your life force. Meanwhile, in Tibet, the Bardo Thodol talks about the mind experiencing this flash of pure, brilliant light, the very essence of reality itself. It's a really critical first moment. And this is where things get absolutely astonishing. These ancient descriptions, we're talking thousands of years old, they mirror modern accounts of near-death experiences with incredible accuracy. That Tibetan flash of light, it sounds a lot like the tunnel of light so many people report. The soul's detachment, people who've had NDEs consistently talk about floating above their own body. It's an incredible, mind-blowing overlap between ancient wisdom and modern testimony.
After that initial separation, the journey keeps going. The next stage, and this is something you see across so many traditions, is this profound moment of reckoning, where the soul is confronted with the life it just finished living.
But what's really crucial to get here is that this isn't about some external judge in a robe. No, it's a confrontation with yourself. The Egyptians symbolized this so beautifully, right? The weighing of the heart against the feather of truth. Modern NDEs describe it as a panoramic life review, where you don't just see your actions, you actually feel the impact, the joy, the pain that they had on everyone else. It's a moment of just absolute, undeniable truth.
Okay, so after this intense review, where does the soul go? The ancient texts suggest it's not some simple choice between a fluffy cloud and a fiery pit. It's way more complex, a vast, multi-layered reality with a whole lot of potential destinations.
This table here gives us a pretty fascinating peek into these different planes. You've got some souls, right, who might be trapped by earthly attachments, and they might just linger on the terrestrial plane. Others might find themselves in a sort of purgatorial state, like the lower astral, a realm of confusion where they have to work through their traumas. And then, for the just, you have these higher realms of pure light and harmony, like what the Egyptians called Aru, the field of reeds.
This, of course, raises a pretty fundamental question. If these are all the possible places you could go, what is it that determines where we actually end up? Is it a god, some kind of cosmic judge, or is it something else entirely?
The Hermetic texts give us a really fascinating answer. It's called the law of vibration. The idea is that your destination isn't a reward or a punishment that's handed down to you. It's more like spiritual physics. Your soul naturally gravitates to the realm that matches its own frequency. So dense, heavy energies like fear and anger, they pull you downward. But higher vibrations, things like compassion and wisdom and love, they lift you up.
And it seems that even then, free will is still a huge part of the process. A lot of Eastern traditions teach that the soul faces a choice. You can either reincarnate, come back and take on another body to keep learning and evolving, or if your lessons are complete, you can ascend and merge back into that universal consciousness, a state some call moksha or nirvana.
Now, all of this might sound really out there, very esoteric and distant, but the great secret that's hidden in all these ancient texts is that this journey doesn't actually begin at death. It begins right here, right now. Let's see how this all connects back to our daily lives.
This is the key. This is the whole thing. The quality of our transition after we die is determined by the quality of our consciousness while we are alive. The prep work isn't for some far-off event. It's about how we choose to live and think and feel every single day.
So, how do we prepare? These ancient guides offer some pretty timeless advice. We can release our emotional burdens through forgiveness, so our heart is light when the time comes. We can cultivate compassion, because love is basically the passport to the higher realms. We can practice detachment from material things, act with intention, knowing that everything you do leaves an energetic imprint, and meditate to train your mind to recognize that clear light of reality when you finally see it.
And that really gets to the heart of the entire philosophy, doesn't it? When we truly understand that death is not some ending to be feared, but a transition to be prepared for, it fundamentally changes how we live our lives. We start to live with more presence, more love, and a whole lot less fear.
Ultimately, these ancient maps don't just show us a path through the afterlife, they show us a path to a more meaningful life, right now. The journey is coming for all of us, that's inevitable. So the only question left is, how will you choose to prepare for it?